Hello, I'm Lauren Green, and you're in the strategy room. Donald Trump has called himself the presumptive nominee for the Republican Party, and with a clean sweep of victories in northeastern states this week, he has widened his lead ahead of rivals Ted Cruz and John Kasich. But Trump's momentum presents a problem for Republican senators up for re-election in key swing states. With a polarizing figure such as Trump at the top of the presidential ballot, these senators may rely on ticket-splitting voters to secure their place in Congress. Here with more is Washington Examiner reporter Gabby Morrongiello. Welcome, Gabby.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so those of us who are not sort of inside politics, explain what a split ticket is and how common that is.
It's extremely common, and the factor that Donald Trump is playing, if he is in fact going to be the Republican nominee, could have a tremendous impact on these split ticket races. You have somebody like Pat Toomey in Pennsylvania who has done a number of appearances so far where he's had to answer questions about the campaign rhetoric of Donald Trump. Voters are concerned about, or I'm sorry, not voters, people involved with his campaign are concerned about the questions that he'll continue to have to answer about Donald Trump. So there really is this great deal of concern about the impact that Donald Trump will not only have on split ticket Senate races, but on down ballot tickets with House Republicans who are up for re-election.
So which senators are vulnerable in the election then when you're talking about a split ticket or not?
Well, there's a number of really contested races. Two that I've been focusing on primarily are up in New Hampshire between Senator Kelly Ayotte, the incumbent Republican, and Governor Maggie Hassan, the Democratic governor, who's running to get that seat. Again, as I mentioned, in Pennsylvania, Pat Toomey, he's up for re-election, and he's facing a heated battle there to maintain his Senate seat. So it's really interesting going forward to pay attention again to the questions that they're being asked and whether these two senators try to distance themselves from Donald Trump or whether they run full force in favor of him as the Republican candidate if he is the nominee. You know, we've heard from Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell that a lot of these Republicans who are in these contested Senate elections to separate themselves from Donald Trump, to not run on his campaign rhetoric, to not associate themselves with him whatsoever. But again, that's really difficult for people like this to do when they go back to their states and they go back to congressional districts and voters are constantly asking them about the policies that he's espousing and some of the controversial remarks that he's made on the campaign trail.
Now, I want to talk about the effects of these Senate races on the election in November, and then also the fact that a lot of times in these districts, you know, perhaps the candidate, the GOP candidate, certainly has to read, you know, the tea leaves of whatever's going on in their district, and as well, you know, could this give the Democrats a majority?
Well, that's the biggest concern right now for Republicans, is that not only are they possibly going to lose the White House if they put forward a candidate who has favorability ratings that are historically low, but that they could in fact lose not just the Senate, but the House as well. And that would be a tremendous blow to Republicans who have been trying, you know, for years now to reverse the policies of the Obama administration that would likely continue under President Hillary Clinton or perhaps President Bernie Sanders. So it is going to be really important for these Senate Republicans who are trying to hold on to their seats to go into their states, to talk to people in congressional districts about the issues that are most important to them and to their states in particular. There's a lot of attention right now focused on the presidential campaign and what the candidates are saying and about the U.S. economy and foreign policy and the threat of these rise of Islamic extremism, but really focusing on those issues that are central and local and really have an impact on the voters who are choosing whether or not to support you and to re-elect you to represent them. That's going to be the key to making sure that those Republicans remain in their seats.
But what about voter turnout? Because we saw when Mitt Romney ran that there are a lot of evangelicals stayed home because they didn't want to vote for a Mormon. So there are issues there. So is there a voter turnout fear for the Republicans?
You know, right now it doesn't look like there is. I mean, we have seen incredibly record-breaking numbers in voter turnout in every single primary state that's voted so far. So I don't think that there is concern about voter turnout. However, there could be if Donald Trump is, say, denied the nomination, and then you have all of these Republican voters, I think it's 10 million so far, who have chosen to support him in their respective primaries, stay home because they're upset over that. If that happens, then Republicans should certainly be concerned about voter turnout and how it could impact the Senate races and the House races.
You know, there's another issue that may impact, of course, it's about the money. You know, there are reports that establishment Republicans, you know, who don't support Trump are planning to pour money into Senate races rather than the presidential election. How effective is the money in this situation?
Well, you know, the candidates who are up for re-election do have to raise a tremendous amount of money, not just for advertising, but for the National Republican Senatorial Committee. I mean, there is a great deal of fundraising that goes into ensuring that Republicans hold on to their Senate seats. And if you have donors who are upset by Donald Trump potentially securing the nomination, then flock to these Senate races, that is going to be beneficial to the Republican senators who are trying to remain in their seats. But it's going to be really disastrous for the Republican National Committee, who's trying to raise money for their presidential nominee. I mean, if you have this mass exodus of the most deep-pocketed conservatives go towards Senate and House races and completely, you know, not contribute anything to the Republican National Committee and to the presidential candidate representing the Republican Party, it's going to be difficult for the RNC to contest Democrats in the general election.
Yeah, follow the money. All right, thanks so much, Gabby Morrongiello from the Washington Examiner. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
And for more on this developing story, go to foxnews.com. I'm Lauren Green, and thanks for watching.